Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car, which they're not going to do because they don't want that. It's got a great market. It's got a market. It's really a sub-market. But they want everybody to have an electric car. We don't have enough electricity. We couldn't make enough electricity. They think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars.
U.S. President Donald Trump is pushing forward with a bold and unapologetic revamp of his administration's trade policy, sending shockwaves through the long-standing economic ties between the United States and Canada. For decades, these two nations have been deeply connected through a massive trade relationship: cars rolling off assembly lines, steel shaping skyscrapers, aluminum driving manufacturing, and dairy products crossing the border daily. In 2023 alone, bilateral trade exceeded $900 billion, with Canada exporting approximately $350 billion in goods to the U.S., including over 60% of its vehicles and a significant share of its metals. But now that partnership has hit a critical turning point, and tensions are running high. Canadians are openly asking, with friends like these, who needs enemies? It's a sentiment that's sparking a heated debate. Could Canada really turn its back on the U.S. market, redirecting its vehicle and metal exports to forge deeper ties with the European Union? And what would that mean for industries, workers, and even iconic brands like Tesla? Canadians have a plan, and it's shocking. Trump's latest move is a doozy. He's threatened tariffs as high as 100% on Canadian vehicles and metals, a proposal that's left Ottawa stunned and scrambling. This isn't just a shot across the bow. It's a cannon blast aimed at one of Canada's economic lifelines. The U.S. imports over 2 million Canadian-made vehicles annually. Think pickup trucks from Ontario plants and SUVs assembled in Quebec, alongside millions of tons of steel and aluminum, critical for everything from bridges to beer cans. Trump's justification? He's hinted at national security concerns and a desire to protect American industries, echoing his America First rhetoric from years past. Some insiders whisper that if these tariffs don't bring Canada to heel, even tougher measures could follow, perhaps targeting energy exports like oil and natural gas, which flow south at a rate of nearly 4 million barrels a day. Canada, though, isn't rolling over. If you pick a fight with us, we'll fight back, a senior official declared, setting the stage for a tit-for-tat showdown. One Canadian member of Parliament upped the ante, proposing a 100% tariff on Tesla, the electric vehicle juggernaut led by Elon Musk. Our retaliation will be a lot more surgical than that, they added, signaling a precise strike rather than a scattershot response. Another politician doubled down, saying, if Trump's threats continue, we'll slap a 100% tax on all Teslas crossing our border. Why Tesla? It's personal and strategic. Tesla's not just another car maker. It's a crown jewel of American ingenuity, a $1 trillion company that's revolutionized the electric vehicle market. Targeting it could ignite a political firestorm in the U.S., especially among Musk's vocal supporters, giving Canada a powerful bargaining chip. Plus, Tesla's already got skin in the game north of the border. It's been eyeing Canada's vast mineral reserves for battery production and sells thousands of Model 3s and Model Ys to Canadian buyers each year. The idea of hitting Tesla isn't just symbolic. It's economic dynamite. In 2024, Tesla sold over 50,000 vehicles in Canada, a market that's embraced EVs thanks to generous rebates and a push for greener tech. A 100% tariff would double the price of a $50,000 Model Y to $100,000 overnight, cratering sales and slamming Tesla's North American growth. Beyond the showroom, it could disrupt plans to source lithium and nickel, key battery ingredients, from Canadian mines in places like Sudbury and Manitoba. Musk himself once called Canada a potential game-changer for Tesla's supply chain, but now that vision is at risk. If you impose a 100% tax on me, Canada's essentially saying, I'll choke your auto industry and sell these resources elsewhere, maybe to Europe or China. But can Canada really pivot to the European Union as a viable alternative? It's a question that's as practical as it is provocative. The U.S. isn't just Canada's biggest market, it's the most convenient one, too. Sharing a 5,500-mile border means goods move fast and cheap. Trucks haul auto parts from Windsor to Detroit in hours, not days. The two economies are so intertwined that 75% of Canada's exports, worth about $450 billion annually, go south. Replacing that with Europe, an ocean away, is no small feat. Shipping a container from Halifax to Rotterdam takes 2 weeks and costs thousands more than a quick jaunt to New York. Plus, the EU's got its own metal and auto producers. Germany's Volkswagen and France's Renault aren't exactly desperate for Canadian imports when they've got local options. Yet Ottawa is not bluffing when it says it has options. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, signed with the EU in 2017, is a lifeline. It's already slashed tariffs on 98% of goods, boosting Canadian exports to Europe by 30% since it took effect. Think $60 billion in trade by 2024. Unlike the US, the EU isn't flirting with protectionism. Its 450 million consumers offer a stable, open market. Canadian media is buzzing about how CETA could cushion the blow if Trump follows through. Our hands aren't tied, one outlet boasted. We've got a plan B. European leaders agree, with some suggesting Canada's trade deals are a breath of fresh air compared to Trump's tariff threats. Take steel. Canada has exported over 1 million tons of steel to the EU since CETA came into effect, and there is talk of joint green steel projects focusing on low-carbon production that aligns with Europe's climate goals. However, analysts caution that this is not a guaranteed success. The EU cannot fully replace the US market, as transport costs are 3 times higher than those to Chicago. Additionally, regulatory differences mean that Canadian car parts may need retooling to meet EU standards. Competition also poses a challenge. Poland and Sweden produce steel, while Spain has its own auto plants. Even so, Canada is betting on carving out a niche, leveraging its mineral resources, which are crucial for Europe's EV boom. With abundant lithium and cobalt in regions like Quebec's James Bay, paired with CETA's tariff-free access, Canada presents a compelling pitch. Despite these efforts, Canada is not walking away from the US. A trade expert in Ottawa noted that Canada is demonstrating leverage, with Europe as an ace in the hole. Tesla has found itself caught in the crosshairs of this brewing trade war. Beyond symbolic significance, it is a practical target. Canada has been a quiet partner in Tesla's growth, supplying raw materials and purchasing vehicles in large numbers. A tariff could severely impact this relationship, driving up prices and stalling sales. Picture a Toronto dealership with unsold Teslas piling up, or a Michigan factory scrambling for nickel that is now being diverted to Germany. Tesla is not the only company at risk. The entire North American auto industry stands to suffer under the USMCA, the revamped NAFTA agreement, where steel, aluminum, and auto parts cross borders daily. Canada sends $15 billion worth of auto parts to the US annually, supplying factories in Ohio and Tennessee. A 100% tariff would shatter this system, significantly increasing costs for Ford, GM, and Chrysler. American buyers could see a $30,000 SUV jump to $40,000, while Canadian factory towns like Oshawa could face mass layoffs. The fallout would extend to Mexico, which produces 3 million vehicles a year, many relying on Canadian steel. Disrupting this flow could destabilize the entire USMCA framework, causing economic losses on all sides. American consumers would grumble about expensive cars, while Canadians would mourn job losses. An Ohio driver might ask why their truck now costs an extra $10,000, only to be answered by a Windsor worker lamenting the shutdown of their plant. Yet, Trump's camp argues that this is about security, keeping jobs and resources at home. Canada, on the other hand, sees it as economic bullying and hints at shifting trade towards Europe or Asia. While Asia is a less viable option, Japan and Korea are distant, and there is no free trade agreement with China, the EU remains a serious contender. CETA is an ambitious deal that eliminates tariffs, harmonizes regulations, and opens doors. Canada has already ramped up metal exports to Europe, and auto parts could follow. Imagine German carmakers like BMW sourcing steel from Nova Scotia, or French EV startups buying lithium from Thunder Bay. Although the US remains the more seamless trade partner, with shorter shipping times and lower costs, Europe offers a crucial alternative. Moreover, the EU's climate policies align with Canada's strengths, such as green steel and battery minerals, which could forge a new economic partnership. If the US intensifies its protectionist stance, Canada and Europe might even form a trade bloc that sidelines American influence. This isn't just a two-way battle. The EU could intervene, fast-tracking trade talks with Canada should Trump push too hard. A Brussels official even suggested that negotiations could be expedited, hinting at a global trade realignment. Mexico might also lean towards Europe, further fracturing North America's economic unity. Canada is playing the long game, recognizing that global trade is shifting and that it is not alone. While fully severing ties with the U.S. is risky due to the sheer volume of trade, $2.5 billion in goods cross the border daily, Europe remains a credible backup plan. The challenges are clear. Competition is fierce, shipping costs are high, and the U.S. market is still dominant. However, Canada warns that it has options. Trade wars rarely have true winners, only battered economies. Prices surge, factories shut down, and tensions rise. This mirrors the 2018 clash when Trump's steel tariffs led Canada to retaliate with $12 billion in counter tariffs on U.S. goods like whiskey and ketchup. After months of standoff, a compromise was reached. Could history repeat itself? The U.S. might settle on a 25% tariff, Canada could forego a Tesla tax, and both sides may declare victory. Or the conflict could drag on, leaving Tesla and consumers to pay the price. Is Canada genuinely strengthening trade ties with Europe? Or is it a strategic move to pressure Trump? Time will tell, but the stakes are high for highways, metal industries, and major brands like Tesla.